Subscribe for more travel documentaries from the most remote corners of the planet. And drop a comment. Where are you watching from? The mountains, Switzerland, is a small country on a map. On the ground, it feels vertical. Roughly 60% of the country is covered by the Alps, a mass of ridges, glacial valleys, high meadows, rock faces, and weather systems that can change their mind in an hour. The postcard version is famous, green slopes, wooden chalets, cowbells somewhere in the distance. But the lived reality of the Alps is less decorative than people imagine. The mountains do not simply surround life here, they organize it. They decide where villages can exist, where animals can graze, where roads can be built, where sunlight reaches in winter, how long snow remains, and how much effort it takes to bring anything. Fuel, tools, medicine, hay, groceries, from one point to another. In lowland Switzerland, modern life moves with mechanical ease. In the high Alps, the terrain still has the final word. There are settlements so small they barely register on maps, scattered homes perched on ledges above valleys, seasonal farmsteads accessible by cable car, tractor, narrow mountain road, or on foot, cabins sitting alone against huge slopes where the nearest neighbor may be visible but not quickly reachable. Some of these homes are fully disconnected from public infrastructure by necessity. Others are only partially connected. Perhaps a road in summer, but no reliable winter access. Perhaps electricity, but no municipal water. Perhaps a mobile signal, but no practical way to leave after a major snowfall. This is what off-grid means in the Alps. Not total separation from the modern world. Selective dependence. Carefully managed autonomy. A life built around the question, what happens when outside help cannot arrive today? Because in the mountains, that is never a theoretical question. The houses' Alpine homes are built like negotiations with gravity and cold. From a distance, the traditional Swiss chalet looks romantic. Dark timber, heavy roof, shutters, flower boxes, the architecture of calendars and chocolate packaging. Up close, it becomes clear that nearly every feature exists for a reason. The roofs are steep because snow is weight. The walls are thick because winter is pressure. The eaves are deep because weather does not arrive gently here. Older chalets were built from what the mountain gave: timber from nearby forests, stone from the slope, labor from family and neighbors, and a level of practical skill that today would be called remarkable, but was once simply normal. The house was not a statement, it was protection. Storage, heat management, survival geometry. Many off-grid homes in the Swiss Alps still follow this logic, even when updated with solar panels, modern insulation, and satellite internet. Beneath the technology, the core design remains ancient in spirit. Keep warmth in, keep snow out, keep supplies dry, and make sure the building can outlast the season. Inside, the rhythm of life is shaped by heat. Wood stoves are not decorative centerpieces, they are engines of continuity. In remote homes, firewood is measured not in ambience, but in weeks of security. A family's winter can depend on whether enough timber was cut, dried, stacked, and protected before the first real storms closed in. In cities, energy is invisible. You flip a switch, turn a dial, press a button. In the Alps, energy is often physical. You carry it, cut it, stack it, protect it from moisture, budget it against the cold. And the cold here is not theatrical, it is structural. It enters through carelessness, through delay, through one storm underestimated. For people to understand off-grid life in the Swiss Alps, you have to first let go of the idea that remoteness means backwardness. The people who live in these places are not frozen in the past. They are often highly skilled, technologically fluent, and intensely practical. Many know how to repair engines, read weather, manage livestock, split timber, maintain solar systems, navigate mountain routes, preserve food, and make decisions quickly when conditions shift. They do not reject modernity. They simply cannot afford to depend on it blindly. Some are farming families whose relationship to the mountain goes back generations. Some are herders who still move livestock seasonally between elevations, following patterns that predate the nation-state around them. Some are craftspeople, foresters, or caretakers of land too steep, too remote, or too costly for industrial systems to handle efficiently. And some are newer arrivals, people who chose this life deliberately, drawn not by fantasy, but by a very specific appetite for self-reliance. But even those who choose it eventually learn the same lesson. The Alps are not impressed by personal philosophy. You can romanticize isolation for exactly one winter. After that, it becomes procedure. Water systems freeze, paths vanish, machines fail, roof loads build, animals still need feeding, firewood still needs hauling, and no amount of aesthetic appreciation for mountain life will dig your vehicle out of 3 meters of snow. That is why the people who make this life work tend to share certain qualities, no matter their background, discipline, patience, technical competence, and a deep respect for the cost of miscalculation. In the Alps, self-sufficiency is never absolute. It is cooperative. Even the most remote households exist within networks of mutual awareness. Neighbors check roads, share equipment, exchange weather information, help recover livestock, and notice when smoke is not rising from the chimney where it should be. In mountain regions, independence and interdependence are not opposites, they are partners. Because isolation in the mountains is manageable, isolation without community is not. Winter. If summer is what outsiders fall in love with, winter is what decides whether life here is actually possible. Winter in the high Alps is not just cold weather. It is a system. Snow alters movement first. Roads narrow, disappear, or become too dangerous to trust. Steps taken casually in July become strategic in January. A short distance on the map can become a serious undertaking when ice, wind, and avalanche risk enter the equation. Then daylight contracts. Shadows arrive early in narrow valleys. Entire slopes lose the sun for weeks. Solar production drops exactly when energy demand rises. Firewood disappears faster. Water lines must be monitored. Animal feed must already be in place. What was easy in autumn becomes work in winter, and what was work in autumn can become impossible by February. The off-grid household survives winter not through toughness alone, but through planning. Food is stored in volume. Fuel is calculated. Equipment is repaired before it breaks. Generators are tested. Paths are reinforced. Roofs are watched. Weather forecasts are not background information, they are operational intelligence. There is a reason mountain people sound calm when they talk about harsh conditions. Calm is part of the method. Panic wastes energy. Routine conserves it. And yet winter is not only hardship, it also creates the clarity that keeps people here. The silence after snowfall, the unnatural brightness of moonlight on snowfields, the sound of nothing mechanical for hours. The strange dignity of a house glowing warm against a landscape that could easily erase it. In cities, comfort often makes people forget the systems keeping them alive. In the Alps, winter makes those systems visible. You know where your heat came from. You know how much water remains. You know what the weather can take away. That knowledge changes a person. How off-grid actually works. The fantasy version of off-grid living is usually very simple. A cabin, a solar panel, a happy person making coffee while looking at mountains. The real version is more interesting than that because it is more complicated. Most off-grid homes in the Swiss Alps operate through layered systems, not single solutions. Solar panels may provide electricity during clear conditions, but batteries determine how useful that power remains after sunset or during snow-heavy weeks. Backup generators fill the gaps. Wood provides heat. Gas may still be used for cooking. Water might come from a spring, a cistern, snowmelt collection, or a local gravity-fed source. Waste has to be managed on site. Access roads may need private maintenance. Every convenience rests on infrastructure, just smaller, more fragile, and closer to the people who depend on it. There is no municipal invisibility here. If a system fails, you know immediately, usually because you are the one who has to fix it. This creates a mentality very different from urban life. You become attentive to use, to storage, to timing, to spare parts, to whether the batteries charged enough yesterday. to whether this storm is bringing powder snow or heavy wet snow, to whether the water line is vulnerable tonight, to whether there is enough diesel left if the generator has to work harder than planned. What looks from the outside like rustic simplicity is often a highly sophisticated balancing act between old knowledge and new technology. A man splitting logs by hand may also be monitoring his inverter. A woman carrying hay in the morning may be troubleshooting a water pump by afternoon. A chalet that appears untouched by time may contain a deeply modern understanding of energy management, thermal efficiency, and risk planning. This is not anti-technology. It is intimate technology. Technology stripped of abstraction and returned to consequence. The animals, the land, the daily work in the Alps. The landscape is beautiful in the way a machine can be beautiful, not because it is passive, but because every part is doing something. The meadows that look wild are often maintained. The grazing routes are historical. The tree line matters. The slope angle matters. The snowpack matters. The health of the animals matters because the animals are part of the household economy, the seasonal cycle, and the practical use of the land itself. For farming families, off-grid life is inseparable from livestock. Cows, goats, sheep, chickens, each one adds work, but also structure. Animals create obligations that are non-negotiable. Storm or no storm, they need water, feed, shelter, and attention. A remote Alpine day does not begin when you feel inspired. It begins when the work begins. This is one of the least understood parts of mountain life. The beauty is real. So is the repetition. Hay must be cut. Wood must be moved. Paths must be cleared. Fences must be repaired. Tools must be maintained. Food must be preserved. Supplies must be anticipated before they are needed. Because by the time you need them, weather may already have removed your options. There is very little frictionless living here. And that, paradoxically, is part of the appeal. Every task has edges. Every day leaves evidence. You know what you did because the woodpile is higher, the roof is cleared, the animals are fed, the batteries are stable, the path is open, the stove is hot. In a world increasingly dominated by invisible labor and digital abstractions, Alpine life remains stubbornly physical. For some people, that feels like burden. For others, it feels like reality. The Swiss paradox. Perhaps the most fascinating thing about off-grid life in Switzerland is where it happens. This is not a poor country pushed into improvisation. This is one of the wealthiest countries in the world, a country associated with engineering precision, infrastructure, banking, pharmaceuticals, and highly organized modern life. And yet in its mountains, people still live in ways that are governed by snowfall, livestock, timber, slope, and stored provisions. That is the paradox. Switzerland is ultra-modern. But the Alps still demand something older. Not nostalgia, competence. No matter how advanced the country becomes, altitude still imposes terms. Helicopters help. Cable systems help. Forecasting helps. Better insulation, batteries, communications, and avalanche monitoring all help. But none of them abolish winter. None of them flatten the mountain. None of them eliminate the fact that some places remain difficult because difficulty is part of their geography. So the people who live here inhabit two Switzerlands at once. One is connected, efficient, global, and famous. The other is local, seasonal, physically demanding, and largely invisible unless you know where to look. The first Switzerland is admired. The second one endures. And in many ways, it is the second that explains the first. Because a culture shaped for centuries by altitude, scarcity, weather, storage, timing, and precision does not leave those habits in the mountains. It carries them down into everything else. The cost of staying there is a question hanging over mountain life across Europe. And Switzerland is no exception. Who stays? Remote Alpine living asks a great deal of the people who choose it. The work is constant. Access can be difficult. Services are far away. Schools, healthcare, and opportunity pull younger generations toward towns and cities. Property costs in some regions rise beyond what traditional local life can easily sustain. Tourism reshapes entire valleys. And the image of mountain life, so attractive to outsiders, can distort the economic reality of actually maintaining it. Some family lines continue, others end with one generation. Some chalets become holiday homes. Others remain what they always were. Working homes in working landscapes held together not by nostalgia, but by labor. Climate change adds another pressure. Glaciers retreat. Snow patterns shift. Permafrost destabilizes slopes. Avalanche behavior changes. Water systems become less predictable in some regions and more dangerous in others. The Alps are not static, and the people who live closely with them know that better than anyone. To remain here now requires more than tradition. It requires adaptation. And yet many stay, not because the life is easy, because it is legible. The mountain makes demands, but they are honest ones. Do the work, prepare well. Respect the weather, know your limits, help your neighbors. Understand that comfort is something maintained, not assumed. There is a kind of dignity in that contract. The evening there is an hour in the Alps, especially in winter. When the mountain seems to exhale, the work of the day is mostly done. The path has been cleared, the animals fed, the last armful of wood brought inside. Light fades early behind the ridge, and what remains catches on snow, windows, and the smoke rising from chimneys in thin, almost motionless lines. Inside the chalet, the stove is hot, boots are drying, water is warming. Someone checks the forecast one last time. Someone else checks the battery level. Tomorrow is already being quietly prepared. Outside, the mountain is immense enough to make every human structure look temporary, and yet these homes endure. Not by dominating the landscape, by understanding it. That may be the real lesson of off-grid life in the Swiss Alps. It is not about escaping the modern world. It is about remembering that even inside the modern world, there are still places where survival depends on attention, skill, restraint, and respect. Places where independence is earned daily, where comfort is built, not purchased. Where nature is not scenery but terms and conditions. Most people think they know Switzerland. But the Switzerland of the high Alps is not made of luxury boutiques, ski passes, and postcard trains. It is made of timber, snowpack, stored heat, mountain judgment, and people who know how to keep a house alive through winter. This is the Switzerland most people never see. As darkness settles across the Alps and the last light fades from the peaks, the reality of this life becomes easier to understand. Off-grid living in Switzerland is not a lifestyle trend. Nor a romantic escape from modern society. It is the result of a long relationship between people and mountains. A relationship built on adaptation, patience, and respect. The landscape sets the conditions, and those who remain here learn to work within them rather than against them. What makes these communities remarkable is not that they survive in difficult places, but that they continue to thrive there. Modern technology has changed many aspects of Alpine life. Yet it has not replaced the qualities that matter most: preparation, competence, and resilience. whether maintaining a solar system, caring for livestock, or preparing for winter months in advance. Every task reflects a deep understanding of how quickly comfort can disappear when nature takes control. The Swiss Alps also reveal something increasingly rare in the modern world: a direct connection between effort and outcome. Heat comes from wood that was gathered and stored. Food often comes from land that was worked and maintained. Security comes not from convenience, but from foresight. In a society where many essential systems operate invisibly, mountain life makes those systems visible again. Reminding people of what it truly takes to sustain a home. Yet perhaps the most important lesson is that independence here is never complete. Behind every isolated chalet lies a network of neighbors, families, and communities that quietly support one another. The mountains reward self-reliance, but they also teach cooperation. In places where weather can close roads and storms can change plans overnight, people endure not only because they are capable, but because they understand the value of mutual support. Most visitors leave Switzerland remembering the scenery. The towering peaks, the glaciers, the green valleys, and the postcard-perfect villages. But beyond those famous views is another Switzerland. One shaped by snow, timber, hard work, and generations of mountain knowledge. It is a Switzerland that remains largely unseen, where life is measured not by convenience, but by capability. And in a world that often seeks easier paths, the people of the high Alps continue to prove that some of the most enduring ways of life are built on accepting challenge rather than avoiding it. Even in a country famous for precision and efficiency, the high Alps remain a reminder that some realities cannot be engineered away. Snow still falls, storms still arrive, distances remain difficult. The mountains continue to demand humility from everyone who enters them. Technology may soften the challenges, but it does not eliminate them. In the end, nature still sets the timetable. There is also a quiet wisdom embedded in Alpine life. The people who live here understand that resilience is rarely built during a crisis. It is built long before, in the daily habits of preparation, maintenance, and responsibility. A stocked woodshed, a repaired roof, a checked battery bank, and a cleared path may seem ordinary. But together they form the foundation of survival when conditions become difficult. For many outsiders, the Alps represent freedom. Endless views, fresh air, and distance from the pressures of modern life. But those who actually live here know that freedom is not the absence of responsibility. It is the ability to meet responsibility with confidence. The mountain offers extraordinary beauty, but it asks for discipline in return. As the world becomes increasingly connected and automated, places like these preserve a different perspective. They remind us that